In tonight's battle, the swamp meets the sewer, toxic waste meets radioactive goo. Join me, because it's time to find out who's the boss. Welcome to the Who Would Win Masters Summer Tournament. I am Sam Proof on all of the socials. And in this episode, representing Viacom, the ninja master who's always ready to give 'em shell, he's turtly awesome, it's Raphael. Representing Trauma Entertainment, the only hero who's already Representing Trauma Entertainment, the only hero who's always ready to clean up the competition, a man with an intoxicating aroma, it's the Toxic Avenger. And tonight, a man who has toxic opinions about pineapple on pizza, but not on his shirts. Joining me on this side of the table for the first time is Ray Stacanis. Welcome, Ray.
This is real weird. This is real weird.
Sorry, I didn't clean
I've
up
done
over
the
here.
judging job on a Who Would Win episode one time in history, and I should have won Judge of the Year, honestly. I was brilliant in that episode. Let's just please understand each other. You know what? I joked as we were getting started that there no nerves from me, but it turns out I was lying. I feel I don't want to screw this up. I want to make sure I give an informed opinion, and I feel more pressure to get this right. Granted, our opinion, Sam, doesn't matter on this.
No,
it's really going to come down to what the people vote for at the end of the day, but we will help guide them with our own opinions at the end of this battle. I want to make sure I do it right, though. How embarrassing would it be if I can't even recognize the right argument in front of me? That would be a true travesty.
I think
yes, I am making this about myself.
No, the real embarrassment is if you can't get enough puns in. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. That's how that goes.
Well, that's a fact. Yeah. And this is, for the people listening who might not know, this is the Who Would Win Masters Summer Debater Tournament, or Summer Tournament, or Summer Tourney, and whatever you want to call it, whichever is the coolest one for the Gen Zers out there. We are taking 8 of our top debaters from the last year, from all of season 1, and we are bringing them together in a collision course to officially say who wins, who's the best debater between each other. And I'm very excited to do this. It kind of came about kind of randomly during one of our episodes. We decided, why don't we do this? So I'm very excited to have the two gentlemen on the show that we have today. Fate has brought them together. Fate has brought them their characters, as it was a random draw on both, and I want to be clear about that.
Yes.
And I am ready to throw this down. I hope our competitors are as well.
Well, you're ready to bring them in. I think you should do the honors and read tonight's tale of the tape.
Tonight's, I will do it. Tonight's tale of the tape is brought to you by hoverboards. Not those fake ones that touch the ground and have wheels and make all the old people fall over. No. We're talking about the real Back to the Future thing. That movie was over 40 years ago, and how do we still not have hoverboards? Star Trek The Next Generation created the iPad a few years later, and we've got those in real life, and we've had them forever now. Like, what is even the deal here? Come on, science. Let's get your poop together. This message has been brought to you by the Americans Who Want Hoverboards, LLC. Today, we're doing our first of 4 matchups in our Who Would Win Masters Summer Tournament. Combatants were randomly selected, and this matchup was randomly assigned. Let's learn a little bit more about each one. First, we have Raphael. Raphael is one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Raphael is the one that wears the red mask, he carries size, and he has a bad attitude. While the hit song Turtle Power refers to Raphael as the leader of the group, this claim is often wildly challenged. Raphael was created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird and first appeared in the comic book Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 back in 1984.
And representing Raphael today is Who Would Win Masters champion William Schmidt. William is the #1 seed in this year's tournament after winning Debater of the Year in Season 1, having defeated Ray via Patreon vote. William, thank you for joining us. What is your personal connection to Raphael and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I've been a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan since the comic released. I actually owned the comic books back in the day. I've since parted with them, and I kind of wish I hadn't. I was a big fan of the movies. Definitely had to catch up on some of the new series. Still have not seen the Michael Bay movie. But big fan. Always have been a Turtle Power fanatic. So I'm very happy to represent Raphael. Am I saying which version I'm taking now, or is that something we do later?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm actually going to take the Raphael from the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animated series that's appearing on Netflix, which has 2 seasons and a movie.
Ooh, very interesting. I'm not as familiar with that version of the character.
Yeah, I have not seen that
I cannot wait to find out more, quite honestly.
Definitely.
Well, let's go ahead and go to part B here, because that's going to take us nicely to the other side of the battle, and that is the Toxic Avenger. The Toxic Avenger is a violent comedy superhero featuring a feeble janitor named Melvin Junko, who through contact with toxic chemicals transforms into the big, green, Toxic Avenger. And as Toxie, as he's known, he fights crime in the fictional town of Tromaville, New Jersey. The Toxic Avenger was created by Lloyd Kaufman and first appeared in the movie The Toxic Avenger, somehow also back in 1984. What the heck was going on in 1984 that wanted us to have mutants so much? It's wild.
Well, anyway, representing the Toxic Avenger today is another fan favorite of all time, of Who Would Win Masters fame, Jay Sandlin. Jay, thank you for taking the time tonight. Has the Toxic Avenger been an important part of your life in any way before today's battle?
Well, hey, thank you for having me as well. I go way back with Toxie. I had a coloring book of Toxic Avenger.
No.
That was how awesome. I first came to know him. Before seeing the movies, the TV show, I think I had a few toys here and there. Fun fact, Playmates Toys put out the Toxic Avenger and Ninja Turtle toys back in the day.
Oh, look at that.
Kevin Eastman even had like a cameo in the 4th Toxic Avenger movie. So there's interesting connections with these two. But
Wow.
I'm going to kind of argue the movies and the cartoon composite together, kind of a composite Toxie as the Melvin Junko transforming into the radiation-powered monster hero of Tromaville, New Jersey. I think he's a winner.
Awesome.
That's fair. Now, let me ask the question, though, because my understanding of those two characters is that they are a bit differently portrayed in that one is kind of specifically cartoon for children, and the other is a hyper-violent movie monster, if you will. I do want to know, like, if we were to say you're leaning one way or the other, and we would maybe give less weight to the, I don't know, like, is there, talk to me a little bit about your strategy coming in, and how should I be viewing this?
I think you would view him more from the movies as the serious toxic character with, the horror movie-esque adult features.
Okay. And that's fair. And that's kind of where I was leaning in my brain. So I just wanted to hear you say it out loud, and I wanted to make sure I was seeing it correctly. But this is very, very exciting. Well, tell you what we're going to do here is y'all know the format of the Who Would Win Masters show. We're going to start the clock at 3 minutes, and I'm going to do that. So I should probably pull it out right now because I am woefully not prepared to do that. Okay, great. Here we go. And at 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, you're going to get the 30 seconds remaining sound. And then when we get to your timer, you're going to hit the NBA buzzer. We know this. We've been through this before. Very, very exciting for it. And y'all, we have to decide who's going first, though. And this is very important to me. And is there a person who wants to volunteer to go first? I want to hear from both of you. I don't know what your strategies are coming in or what you were hoping for, but I want to try to get everybody where they want to be.
I will default to Jay for his selection. I'm happy going either first or second.
Okay. Jay, would you like to make a choice there? Jay's going to go first. There we go. We will open with the Toxic Avenger, and we will begin the clock at 3 minutes, Jay. 3 minutes starting right now.
Hang on. Should we do the rules in 1 minute
do we
first?
Want to do the rules? This is probably somebody's first time. I was ready to go, but here's the deal.
Lately, Ray has been like scoffing at the rules, so I can understand why he wants to skip this part.
I'm not a big fan of rules. I'm a big fan of bending them to your will. Here's the deal. For the people at home who have never heard the show before, here's the rules in under a minute. There you go. And obviously, me and Sam are going to render a decision here. But we want you to go on patreon.com/whowouldwinmasters and give us the official vote, which as this airs will be available for you to vote on. for a certain period of time, and we will go over the results on a future wrap-up, and we will get through the entire thing. We're going to do the whole tournament this summer. I'm fired up to begin. Jay, are you ready now?
Do it.
All right, I suppose I am.
We're going to make it happen then. 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Well, our man, the Toxic Avenger, like we said, Melvin Junko was this nerd, a janitor. He was getting picked on by these bullies in a health club in Tromaville, New Jersey. After his accident, he is endowed with several new abilities that I'm going to talk about. But for my first point, I kind of wanted to focus on the strength and invulnerability. So Toxie, he operates on this exaggerated superhuman monster scale, high above levels of the average turtle. And Raphael, he's a skilled fighter, but I would call the Toxic Avenger a superhuman horror force with this absurd durability and overpowering strength. Toxie, he routinely displays grossly exaggerated mutant strength. He has literally torn criminals apart, bent steel, thrown grown men effortlessly, and survives impacts that would take out normal fighters. I would say, Raphael, he does have in the Rise of the Ninja Turtles, he does have a superhuman level strength, but I just think raw power goes to Toxie with some of his feats, like tearing off arms, legs, and heads, routinely punches through human torsos. He's strong enough to push and lift a school bus. And, what I would say is that Toxie fights more like a wrecking ball, while Raphael fights like a trained martial artist. And, Raphael, he does hit hard, but in a pure, low-budget horror movie physics engine, that's your Toxic Avenger. Probably his strongest category, though, is that durability. He can tank gunshots, blunt force trauma, explosions, fire, and electrical damage. And I don't know if he even feels pain, but if he does, he fights through it because he's basically designed as this indestructible toxic mutant. Raphael, he might think that he has a hope with his fighting skills and his ninjutsu, but let's remember something important about this turtle. And I'm going to bring this up again more later. Raphael tends to rush emotionally into his fights, and he takes damage because of that aggression. When the fight ultimately becomes chaotic and violent, that's when Toxie's advantage snowballs. So, the angle on my first point, Toxie's whole gimmick is a horribly mutated toxic monster who survives everything. Raphael's gimmick is hot-headed ninja.
30.
So Raphael, he can bleed. Toxic Avenger, he gets hits by things that should turn him into soup, and he just keeps on walking. Other things he's done, he's tanked explosions, he's survived being shot at point-blank range, and he's emerged unscathed. I would give I'd say durability and the strength is going to edge out to Toxie, even though this is a very powerful version of Raph.
30 seconds remaining.
But like I said, Raphael, he could still bleed.
Ray, you're muted.
That's right, everybody. They changed the soundboard on me on Riverside right before this battle, and I'm playing the wrong sounds. But that was a dynamic 3 minutes from Jay. I definitely, I see where the bar has been set and started. And Sam, how'd you feel about that?
Yeah, literally a strong start. There's a lot of things I've forgotten about the Toxic Avenger. It's been a long time since I've seen that, and that is to get all of that into just point number one, point number two, and three is going to be like, what's going on? William, are you ready to accept this challenge? All right, Ray. Unless you had other things to say. I mean to cut you off.
No, we're great. 60 seconds on the clock for your counterpoint, William, starting now.
All right. So, yes, Toxie's very strong. Raphael, in this version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a bit different than the kind of classic foam suit wearers back in the day. He is actually a mutated alligator snapping turtle, which is not a random species selection. They are the largest, strongest, dinosauriest like turtles around, and it makes them incredibly tough. In the series, he never gets hurt. He gets hit with ridiculous attacks that break buildings, and he doesn't get hurt. Right? He gets knocked around, he gets winded, takes a minute to get back up. So getting hit by someone like, Toxie fits in the mold of the kind of people that he's used to fighting. So getting hit that hard is not really going to hurt him that much if you can hit him. That's the other thing. He is incredibly well trained. So Toxie is not well trained. He is very much a brute force, swinging fists around. It'd be very...
I'm sure you have plenty more to say in just a sec, I'm sure, but we definitely wanted to give you a chance to counter that right now. And it seems like you had a head of steam that we don't want to get in the way of, William. So I'm going to start your 3-minute clock for your point number 1 right now.
All right. So, as I was mentioning, Raph is the largest of the brothers. He stands about 6 feet tall, weighs about 300 pounds. He's got mutated skin, which is super dense, as are his bones. And of course, he's got the shell, which is nigh invulnerable in the series. Like nothing can break it. He shrugs off blows that would shatter a human skeleton, or even severely harm his brothers. They really make him out to be the tank in this series. And there's more to that later that I'm going to get to in my point number 3. His shell also has these dorsal ridges along it that can cut through materials. One of the enemies in the series is a giant spider. I call Big Mama. She runs like this big fighting organization, and she webs them up with this like super tensile, like steel tensile type webbing, and he can use his ridges to cut through it. So he's got weapons on his own body that he can use. He's strong enough in his normal form to knock down reinforced stores, to throw around much larger opponents. There was one act he did where he used a ladder to collect like 5 or 6 very large opponents and throw them around. And it just shows that he possesses superhuman levels of strength, endurance, and speed. So for his size, he's still a ninja. And they make a point of this in the series. They have like 2 full episodes where they really go with the super ninja abilities of, drop the smoke bomb, disappear into the darkness, sneak around, be super agile, leap, incredible distances, things like that. So he's a very established ninja-esque type fighter. He's also been training with his brothers for a decade plus. And his brothers are also incredibly talented fighters. So, and here's the thing. In this series, he actually starts off as the leader. So the song is correct for once. As the series goes on, in season 2, that mantle gets handed over to Michelangelo. All of his brothers are afraid to spar with him. He's way better than they are, and they know it, and he kicks their butt constantly. Even Michelangelo, when it breaks down to him against Michelangelo, the fights are good, but he always wins. And they kind of make note of this as he's the leader for that reason. There was a strike against his mental maturity, but in this series, as the leader, he feels responsible for the other turtles, and he's actually very mentally stable. It's not like the foam suit where I'm going to go mad, or the comic books where I'm going to go off and, fight without the turtles and take over
30 seconds remaining
and become the Shredder. That is not this version of the character. This version of the character is far more stable and is a great leader for season 1, and, hands over the reins in season 2. He's got extreme willpower. He breaks mind control in the series. Let's see what else. He's a master of ninja weapons like stars, tonfas, his signature sai. He is an amazing fighter that's incredibly well trained. So just hitting him is going to be hard.
Well, dang, that you both are cramming a lot of information into each of your points. I have a feeling you've both done this before. Oh wait, entirely. Jay, I'm very excited to hear this counterpoint. You've got 1 minute on the clock starting now.
All right. Well, I touched on this a little bit ago, but Raph has some weaknesses that I believe are suited for Toxie to take advantage of. Like William said, yes, he is very durable. He's got that shell. He's a tank, but that leads to his overconfidence. He can take a lot of punishment, and sometimes he fights like he's invincible against the gang, the Foot, the Purple Dragons, whoever it may be. But absorbing hits against Toxie is a terrible strategy because Toxie's attacks are grotesquely destructive. They are acidic. They are nuclear. They are, Toxie has less of a fighting style and more of a quickly escalating, pure, unadulterated violence. So I think Raphael, he's used to surviving damage, but the Toxic Avenger specializes in turning durability contests into just pure horror scenes.
This has been an absolutely... Could we just stop the battle here? I'm afraid of where we're going because both debaters have been phenomenal so far.
This feels like we've taken the improv scene straight to the moon with Nazis and guns everywhere. Like, where could it possibly go from here?
That's what I'm wondering myself.
Right,
we I feel like we're already at 10.
Right.
And we have 2 points to go. And both of these gentlemen, because I know them, they're both somehow sandbagging. So I don't know what the heck we're going to do from here.
They're playing coy.
Oh, my goodness. I love this. Well, here's the deal. We'll be right back after this break.
And we're back. All right. This was an amazing point number one to get us to this place that we're in already. And it's like, where is it going to go? I'm ready. Ray, are you ready?
I'm ready for this. Let's do it. 3 minutes on the clock, Jay, for your point number 2, starting right now.
All right, so my point 2 comes down to we talked about the strength and invulnerability. Point number 2 is about that speed combined with unpredictability. So now Toxie, he looks lumbering, he looks really awkward. He's not winning any beauty contests, but in his fights, he explodes forward unexpectedly. You know, opponents may underestimate him because of his appearance. Raph may be cracking jokes about him, or that's Mikey. But once he gets momentum, these fights end fast and they end brutally. So talking about his speed, there is a martial artist that the Toxic Avenger has gone up against. That's the Kabuki Man. And the Kabuki Man can catch bullets out of the air with chopsticks. He was able to keep up with that guy. He can dodge. He can outrun bullets. He can keep up with those masters of martial arts like the Kabuki Man. Whereas Raphael, you know, like William was talking about, he trains with his brothers. He's used to fighting skilled enemies with patterns. But the Toxic Avenger fights like violent chaos. There's no rhythm for him to read. And again, Raphael, he does have that emotion. He has that aggression. He still, though, is fighting within ninjutsu combat logic. And Toxie just has no logic. He's dirty. He's savage. He's chaotic. He weaponizes the environment constantly. And he's willing to absorb damage to land a finishing blow. I think he's going to absorb that blows from Raphael. I think he can take those blows. The overconfidence of Raphael is going to cause him to keep moving in and trying. But this becomes important in the crossover because Raphael, he excels against trained opponents. Toxie's usually going for unpredictable brawls, like against the group Apocalypse Inc., attacking Tromaville with their own set of mutants. He's taken on many mutants. It's kind of the Toxic Avengers' specialty to fight entire groups rather than a clean one-on-one duel. He battles corrupt officials, assassins, mutant criminals, and monsters like Raphael in succession. And he usually, if he's not the best fighter, he doesn't have to be. He's winning through endurance. He's winning through overwhelming force. There's not a whole lot of
30 seconds remaining.
Terror. And Raphael, I think even though this version is a tank and he's a leader, he's usually performing his best in coordinated TMNT team dynamics. But Toxie has no problem operating against waves of enemies and going solo. So I would just say Raphael's anger makes him dangerous, but the Toxic Avenger's insanity makes him impossible to plan for. So unpredictability amplifies his approach.
I love that we got a Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD reference on the show. I was hoping for one. And I'm just a big fan of the Troma properties in general. Look, there's a reason I wanted Toxic Avenger on the list, and I am excited to have him represented here today. Sam, anything you want to throw in before we go to the counterpoint?
I mean, I think, you know, Jay has made some really good points. I really just want to see what Will has to counter that at this point. Because, the team versus solo dynamic, I think, is a very strong argument. So let's see what happens.
Fair point. 1 minute on the clock for your counterpoint, William, starting now.
All right. So Toxie is a Tuesday for Raph. The bottom line is he fights mutants every day, new mutants that he's never even seen before. He goes into it not overconfident, but even if he did, and what I don't think is going to be the case, and Toxie got a hit off on him, what enemy has Toxie fought that is as durable as Raphael? right? Raphael is extremely durable, especially in this series, right? He gets hit with, I'll go into the list of enemies in point number 2, that it's truly impressive the kind of attacks that he's tanking. But yeah, I think, again, emotionally, this is not the Raphael from the comic books. He's going to be able to maintain a calm fighting front. He's going to be able to counter the attacks that are coming in. He's going to be faster. He's going to be more disciplined. You know, if Toxie tried to use the mop, for example, look, he spars with Donatello every day. Right?
So you're arguing that Toxic Avenger's mop is similar to Donatello's bow staff.
Yeah. I'm saying that if that could come into play, he is used to fighting against other weapon wielding opponents, and he'd be very
interesting.
Used to fighting against somebody.
I'm not trying to give you extra time for your points, William Schmidt. So I'm just going to start.
I'm going to give you take 2 seconds off of that.
No, you give him an inch, he takes a mile, and this is why they're both here today. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock for your point number 2, and I'm going to start it right now.
All right. Well, let's talk about the list of opponents that Raph has fought and beaten. Right. So we can start with like all the droves of ninjas, from the magical ninjas, normal ninjas, cyber ninjas, ninjas, right? But we're going to get into the more powerful beings, right? So there's a Repo Mantis, who is a human-sized praying mantis. If you think about how terrifying that is, put him down by trapping him under a metal ladder that he used. Not to mention that during that fight sequence, he used that ladder to sweep up 6 other rogues in the gallery, including several that weighed in excess of a ton, right? So when you're throwing people around, no problem. I'll take anything in the environment and use it, and trap people, under a ladder, using just my raw strength. There's a mutant wrestler that was kind of like Andre the Giant called Ghost Bear. That is a mutant polar bear wrestler that he fought and defeated. There's Baron Draxum, who is the ancient alchemist warrior that created the ooze. That's like this huge towering humanoid with a goat figure. He fought him, superhuman strength, endurance, speed. Raph stood toe to toe with him, took the blows, no problem. Even when Draxum possessed the Shredder armor, which the Shredder armor was insane in this series. It was an indestructible suit. First of all, spoilers. It drained his life force and became a demon suit of armor that was on its own at one point. And it started tearing the city apart. It was able to slash through concrete, metal. At one point, it was slashing through entire buildings, like taking out like half a city block. And again, Raph stood up to it, took blows from it. He was able to take that kind of damage. I don't think Toxie's going to be able to do that. On top of that, he fought the Krang, which is the biomechanical world-conquering aliens that came in. Indestructible armored suit, super strong, again, taking out city blocks, instant bioregeneration, super speed, strength, energy cannons, no problem, right? Raph tanked the blows. He avoided blows from that enemy as well. Didn't take them all, obviously. There was even a part where in the series, my point number 3, I'm going to get into it. They end up getting these powers, and he used a screech.
30 seconds remaining,
and brought them back to their normal turtle levels, and they were still able to hang and fight with him. Right. So Raph is incredibly tough, and I don't think Toxie is going to be able to just knock his head off or something like he does in the comedy horror films. Right. And again, if Raph even thinks he's dangerous, I don't think Toxie ever hits him.
Wow. That's bold accusation, or I guess. Also, I need to see this series because, oh my God, it sounds great.
It sounds incredible. Yeah. I'm not very familiar with this series. I'm familiar with the more traditional Ninja Turtles fare.
Old one. Yeah, for sure. Me too.
I got to ask, Jay, are you familiar with this series, or is this a huge curveball?
Never seen it. This was a huge curveball. I was honestly preparing more for a traditional Raph battle. So
that's fair. We all know all versions are on the table. This is not what I even knew existed.
If Jay had watched that movie night where I was on and talking with Ray, I mentioned I want to use this series. Is this okay? And Ray's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, cool, okay.
That's fair. I don't remember that, but that's fine. I'm sure there's video evidence of it. But here's the deal. Like, we got two super powerful characters. I'm interested. Now, this is a real interesting battle. Jay, I'd love to hear what your counterpoint is to what we just heard about his opponents. Some of the classic characters we know probably spun, but also the ninjas and whatnot. But I want to hear what you have to say. 1 minute starts right now.
I think William's giving Raph too big a piece of the pie here, William. A lot of those things happen with his brothers working with him. You know, there's a team effort. And like I said, that team dependence, when Raph shines brightly as part of a turtle team, all his best movements involve coordination. There's combo attacks. Raphael, as strong as he is, he's strongest in a unit, and this is a one-on-one battle. So I'm going to also stick with what I said about Toxie's unpredictability, with amplifying the speed factor of it. You know, Raphael is trained to read stances, timing, weapon patterns, and discipline. But Toxie just fights like pure chaos. So even if Raph is technically the more trained and agile fighter, I think his reactions become less effective because Toxie just doesn't move in the ways he's going to expect. You know, yeah.
No, I think that's a great point. I'll say right now, look, I've talked more than probably a lot of other judges will, because that's just who I am. But I love that point. The thing is, as a curveball as this version of Raphael is, Jay is crushing it right now. And I will say that
I may have looked up a few things on this one. Just
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I know how prepared both of you come into a thing like this. So it is interesting to kind of hear you working in the moment. And you know, and honestly, both of you are talking about a character that I don't know very well. And I don't know, Sam, you said, you know, you haven't really seen this series either.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's a blank canvas, and you know, it's really going to come down to how you're debating, and you're both no surprises here, but you're both absolutely crushing it.
Yes.
So Sam, anything you want to throw in?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have not seen this series, so I have to, you know, take a lot in from what William's saying, and it is really feels very close right now.
It does.
I think everyone has made very good points and used their counterpoints very wisely. So we'll have to see if anyone can paint a decisive path to victory in their point number 3.
That's exactly it. But we're going to find out what's going to happen next right after this break.
We are back. It is time for the third and final round of our point number 3. And it could be anyone's game here. This is, this is for all the ooze.
All right, we got 3 minutes on the clock for Jay. This is your point number 3, and we're going to start it right now.
All right, so point number 3, here it comes. It's the mop, and combining that with a danger sense. Now, the Toxic Avenger's mop, that's his signature weapon. It is radioactive. It is an extension of his own superhuman strength, and he can use it to take down a gangster from a block away, block bullets, and the mop even shows signs of sentience at time with hyper-elasticity. Now, William, my friend, you tried to compare the mop to Donatello's bow staff. That bow staff at best has maybe a 6-foot reach if he's holding it all the way out. This mop is a straight-up ranged weapon that can extend its hyper-flexibility down the block. So, William, I'm going to have to call that, sir, a false equivalency, because the mop boasts all these features with the lethal melee combat. In those live-action films, Toxie dips his mop into toxic sludge, and when swung, the glowing radioactive weapon, it's capable of melting skin, you know, dismembering his foes. It destroys evil forces like there's the nuke monster or Bozo the crime clown. He's already able to harm the radioactively affected villains like the nuke monster. And this mop can stretch and reshape itself into lassos to tie up an enemy. Toxie can even use it to swing from buildings like Spider-Man. And it's, it's his symbol of justice. So you put Raph's weapons, let's forget about Donnie. Raph has the Sai, he's got Tonfas. The mop's going to win every time compared to the Sais. a sai is typically used for trapping. It's used for stabbing. I just don't see it working well against the mop. But combine that with the fact that Toxie also has a danger sense. He's not just swinging a weapon around randomly. The mop becomes more deadly because Toxie combines it with a heightened awareness and mutant instinct that gives him his own spidey sense. It's a precognition danger warning. Because throughout the films, Toxie frequently reacts to opponents before they expect him to. Ambushes on him, sneak attacks, they often fail because he senses the danger.
30 seconds
And he
remaining.
immediately retaliates with overwhelming force. So again, the mop is dangerous because it has reach. It hits with superhuman force. The sai are built around precision, trapping, and controlled. So if Toxie is so difficult to surprise, if he can hit him from down the block, I don't see Raph winning the moment he commits to closing the distance. Toxie just needs one opening, and let's melt that pretty face away.
My goodness gracious. William, I'm not even going to say anything. Sam, do you have anything you want to add here? I want to get right to the counterpoint.
Go into it. Let's hear it.
Let's do it.
60
1 minute
seconds
on the clock for the counterpoint starting now.
All right. We are fighting in a neutral area. I don't think there's going to be toxic sludge around for you to dip the mop into. But let's talk about the danger sense. The danger sense is often referred to as an evil detector. I don't think Raph is evil, and therefore I don't think it's going to work. It is not true danger sense. It is not true spider sense. So Toxie faces a lot of evil people, and I don't think there's a case that you can put forward that says this is another hero that he's fighting that the sense is worked against. Even if that's the case, my point number 3 is going to make it mute. So we'll find out. But that's all I need to say.
All right, fair enough. A bold strategy to not use up your entire 1 minute counterpoint.
All right.
We've seen that bite people real hard in the past. But Sam, what are you looking at right here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're in the heat of it, so we should just steamroller into the next point. I'm ready to
Agree 1,000%. William, we got 3 minutes on the clock, and we're going to start right now.
All right. So this version of Raphael possesses something that the Toxic Avenger does not have an answer for. Raphael wields a mystic discipline. It's an inherent art that allows him to channel pure energy into physical force. It operates a lot like the Green Lantern's power ring. It allows him to make huge constructs. He can make constructs out of weaponry. He can make shielding around himself. He often operates in a 50-foot version of himself, where he's in the center of the chest. He has used this to stop a speeding car dead stop just by punching it. I mean, he's used it to level buildings. In the fight against Krang in Krang's super armor, Raph punched him. The punch was so hard it caused a supersonic shockwave. The strike itself broke the sound barrier. Krang was launched into the air, and his body broke the sound barrier 3 more times in flight as it flew away. Right? This isn't his brothers. This is Raph punching him in his huge construct form. This is Dragon Ball Z like combat level, right? The early Dragon Ball Z stuff. So I don't think Toxie is going to really have an answer for that. You got a 50-foot tall Raph, totally protected, and nothing penetrates the form once it's constructed. He can only use it for a limited amount of time. That's the issue with it, but he can reform it almost right away. The supersonic punch, he's used against invulnerable opponents. He used it against the Shredder. He used it against Krang, sent them flying. This is well beyond his normal strength, which sends opponents flying across the room and smashing into walls and stuff like that. So Toxic Avenger fights criminals and crime bosses and a couple low-level mutants. Raph fights world-ending invulnerable opponents. And yes, he has his brothers with him, but he's the tank. He takes the hits. He delivers huge blows to these opponents, right? And these opponents are way, way tougher than the Toxic Avenger. We're talking Avengers-level opponents, right? So I don't see how Toxie's going to really have a way to stop that when a 50-foot Raph
30 seconds remaining
and smacks him all the way across the city. It's either battlefield removal. Toxie is smeared across the pavement. He's tough enough that I don't think he's going to get taken out completely by it or knocked apart, but he's definitely getting knocked miles away.
He leaves a few seconds on the clock right there. Very exciting. Now, here's the deal. Some of these claims are wild, and I had to look them up myself as the judge. And looking at them, I'm just going to say right now, there are some definite counter arguments. I've thought of a couple. What would I do in this situation if I was Jay? How would I combat this? Because that's wild. I do think that there is a lot that can be said. But Jay, here's the deal. If you're ready, we've got 1 minute on the clock. For you
just 1 minute, man.
1 minute for your final rebuttal, yeah. And so, but you do get the last word. So this is very, very exciting. If you're ready, 1 minute on the clock to shut some of this down, starting right now.
All right, so Raphael's giant construct form, it turns him into a bigger, more emotionally pressured target, fighting a monster, the Toxic Avenger, who thrives in chaotic close range destruction. Now, as far as battlefield removal, luckily, I think that Toxie could overcome that with the mop. His mop is sentient. It can stretch out. He can grab onto something, pull him back into the battlefield, like Spider-Man with the webbing. I would argue that the construct, being as powerful as it is, it's not passive. It requires concentration, and it requires emotional stability. Raph has to maintain it, control it, and that's a big risk against Toxie, who uses chaos. He has incredible pain tolerance, and he can, like we mentioned earlier, Toxie's a tank too. He can take a lot of that damage, and I would also argue that the construct is less effective in close range.
But we could have given him some of the seconds Will didn't use, I think.
Yeah, hold on a second. Maybe we give him 20 extra seconds to put. No, we can't do that. That is a choice William made. Okay. We did not get to give it away. But that is all of the arguing for the two of you on this right here. Sam, do you need a minute to put your thoughts together?
No, I think we're just going to go into it. I'm not going to write like a big,
I didn't know how you wanted to
thing. I think we're doing a slightly different format. It's just going to be a different decision-making process. Let's get into it.
No problem. Well, here's the deal, Sam. I would like you to go first with your breakdown of your decision. I need a moment because I still don't know.
Okay. I mean, do you want to just take a few minutes?
Well, no. I mean, here's the deal. I'll figure it out while you're figuring it out. And,
I mean, I'm going to talk
but
it
you have to say yours out
on
loud
my own
first.
end. Yeah, sure. All right, gentlemen, this was frankly way beyond the scope of what I thought either of these characters were capable of. And yeah, William, that new series, definitely going to go binge that as soon as possible, so that I can see that I've made the right decision when I come down to it. But this started where I thought it might start, with strength and durability and invulnerability and all of that, and skill levels and martial arts. And then I thought that's 3 points worth, right? No, this went completely off the rails with the sentient mop and like the 50-foot version of Raph. And I was like, how do you come back from that? And Jay did a very good job of coming back from that with the mop. And it's so close. I'm really excited to see what the people think. I think as far as it goes for me, Raph not having the other turtles there is a major handicap, whether or not he's 50 foot or not. But that is, a very strong thing to face off against, no matter how smart your mop is. The point that, I forgot where I was going with that. I think the point that, Toxic Avenger has this Spider-Man danger sense, which only targets evil, is valid. Although maybe after a few rounds, it gets a retuning, but that might be too late at that point to really do any real effect on the strategy. However, I do believe that when it comes down to um, just the pure brute force and chaos that Toxie brings to this battle, I think there's a slight edge for him to win there. And that's all I've got.
So you give it to the Toxic Avenger. Now,
I do give it to the Toxic Avenger.
Off the record, off the show, Jay, did you mention the chairman as one of the opponents that Toxic Avenger fought?
I didn't, not that one specifically.
Okay, that's important to my decision, and I wanted to make sure I was right in that. Because of who the chairman ends up being in real, he's Satan himself, and that's a good win. But if, like I say, if you didn't mention it, I can't give you credit for it. So, all good.
Sure.
What does he appear in?
Apparently 2, Toxic Avenger 2.
Okay.
And maybe 3 as well. I just did a little quick checkup of myself, and I wanted to verify facts before I give my verdict. But I'm not going to mention that, but that will go into my verdict so you both know this. I don't want to taint the pool of mentioning things that weren't said because I don't think that's a judge's place to do. Cool. So I'm sitting here. I came into this battle thinking that the Toxic Avenger was obviously the much stronger, more durable one, but Raphael had the greater skill and use of weapons. And somehow over the course of the battle, both of you convinced me of the opposite of those two things, that it turns out Raphael was the stronger and more durable of the two, but Toxic Avenger had the better weapons with the stretchable mop that could, go in toxic waste and hit you from around the corner, which is an absolutely phenomenal point. I'm just breaking down the notes that I have here of, the superhuman abilities of Toxic Avenger. Count in point number 1, countered by the mystical constructs, which I did look up because that seemed too crazy to be true, and it does. It doesn't give him Green Lantern powers. I would Green Lantern-esque powers. Yeah, I think we got to tone that argument down just a little bit. But the size, I think, does make a difference. And we talked a little bit about body weapons. I think that's something that we talked about that I didn't hear a big counter for, and that the size are one thing, but if you have razors on your arms, that does count as something else. If you get in close and you're just throwing magical ninja haymakers against somebody who is not as trained in Toxic Avenger, he really is, I would say, like Homelander, Superman, doesn't have the same fighting skills, kind of relies on being stronger than his opponents in order to subdue them. With the opponents that was brought up for both of them, obviously we have some higher powered individuals, and based on what I heard through that, as much as I love Kabuki Man, I do feel that the Raphael opponents are a little bit more powerful. And I think Sam made a great point with the Ninja Turtles. They all fill in the gaps that Raphael doesn't have, right? When you fight as a team, he is the big tank, but he needs to be kept away from status effects, right? That's how my role-playing brain sort of would break that down. And Toxic Avenger is nothing but not status effects that would definitely affect Raphael. This is like a 51-49. And sure. I know we say that, but this is not a hyperbole by any stretch of the imagination. I think what really set it aside for me is the difference of opponents and the use of that little force field and the growth. I think if Toxic Avenger isn't proven out easily to be the stronger of the two opponents, and in this case, for me, he wasn't, despite the violence that he's capable of, the range, I give this very, very slightly to Raphael. And I'm talking like 51-49 Razor's Edge. I honestly cannot decide, but that little tiny amount pushed it over the top for me. And that's where I sit with this, and I don't even feel good about it. I feel terrible about either side. I wouldn't feel good about. This is incredible. I think that this is one of the most even matchups we've ever seen in the show, period, much less for the tournament, with this being the first battle and all. I guess officially it is both the widest gap and the slimmest margin because you are the first battle. Is that how it works? I think so.
Sure, all of those words are words.
Man, in any case, I am excited that ultimately me and Sam do not have to make the decision here. The decision will be made on patreon.com/whowouldwinmasters. Me and Sam's votes cancel each other out. That's fine. That's a breath of fresh air. That's a breath of relief as far as I'm concerned.
Well.
Yeah. So you, the people at home, will be deciding the winner of this matchup to be revealed at a later time. We do not end this battle with an actual decision. We're going to leave this open for a while. for you to make your own decision. And on a future wrap-up episode, we will announce who won, who's advancing. But I'm going to say right now, both of you, I want to take a moment to talk to both of you and thank you both for coming on the show. Absolutely incredible arguments.
Yeah. So well
Jay
done.
coming through with an absolute loop thrown at you that I think you navigated as expertly as physically possible. Absolutely fantastic job with this. Jay, I'll start with you. Any last words to our people at home? Where can people find you online?
Well, I'll just say that if all else fails, the Toxic Avenger can pee acid. So
it does help.
That's worth mentioning.
Raph can take an acidic shower there.
There you go.
Find me in the Patreon group, hanging around. You can find me at J3Boxing on TikTok and Instagram. Find me in your hearts and vote for the Toxic Avenger.
There you go. And William, again, fantastic job. I went with you by the slimmest of margins. You made some absolutely excellent points. I also was not expecting, even though apparently you told me when I was middle of watching Hard Target or something, exactly what you were going to do. That doesn't mean I'm smart or listen. Right. Neither of those things, both of those things could not be true. But please let the people take a last moment and let the people know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm really happy I didn't take BA Baracus.
Yes.
Yes. I think that would have been a very different show.
And I'm very happy I found this series. It's a great series. Everybody should watch it. It's 2 seasons on Netflix plus the movie. And Raph gets really, really powerful by the time he reaches the movie where he's got complete control over the energy, and he's just invulnerable at that point. So, but yeah, great. I didn't expect the mop. Right. Had to react to that. I knew about the lifting of the bus and things like that. And I think that's all countered. And yeah, I don't want to edge any more information into this nope. Response. So
you have both said enough in your final.
Yeah.
We're going home point. I guess we'll call it. But William, you got any projects you want to touch upon?
Yeah, I just launched the YouTube channel, Old Nerd 64 at YouTube. It's about Disney. I love Disneyland. I've always loved Disneyland, been there hundreds of times throughout my childhood and got married and honeymooned to Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going there and like filming the rides and filming the parades and stuff. I got a cool new camera and everything out there. So I'm posting all the stuff up on YouTube. So if you guys like Disneyland and want to experience some joy, please visit the channel and check it out.
Well, I'll be checking that out. Those are things I enjoy. William Schmidt and Disneyland. That's 2 things right there that I enjoy very much. So that is excellent. And Sam, I've said enough in this episode. Why don't you go ahead and let the people know where they can find us, what we're doing, our socials, etc. And I'm just going to sit over here and continue to think about this battle.
Yeah, gentlemen, both thank you for joining us. William, I hate to have voted against you yet again because that did not work out well for me last time. But, I felt myself doing it and I was like, oh, is this a mistake already? But everyone, please head over to the Patreon at patreon.com/whowouldwinmasters and make your votes heard. And then join us over on the Discord for more discussions. And you can find that link pinned on the Patreon. And if you think you've got what it takes to step into the challenger's chair for a future episode or a future tournament, send us a 1-minute video demo at whowouldwinmasters@gmail.com, and we may see you across from somebody in a future episode. For Who Would Win Masters, this is Sam Proof. Stay strong.